Hello, y'all. What day of the week is it? Happy Thursday, besties and bosses. We are back I guess technically this is day 4 now of connections to clients, but what we're doing is day 1, take 2, because as some of y'all know, we had day 1 for connections to clients, and I don't know what was going on with Facebook when usually I can save these and pin them to the top of the group. Well, that didn't happen. The video from day 1 kind of went up to the ether. So we are going to do a take 2 of day 1. So super excited to dive back into this with y'all. The conversation will obviously be a little different because it was live and we had some questions come up in the first time we went live, and we had a few bits of conversation back and forth. So I know it's early for a lot of you, but hopefully we'll get a few of you on here live so we can have some more of that conversation, because I really did love some of that conversation we were having on day 1. The other thing we're doing today, and I gotta tell you guys, I'm on a few minutes late tonight. I think some of you know, I have a kitten named Nala, a little Bengal kitten, and she is in full on hyper mode. I think 9 o'clock, so we've done this every day, must be her like morning time she wants to play, and she has been all up in the cords this morning and in my light. So we're gonna work with it. We might have Nala visit us again throughout the live, or something might go crashing down that I'll have to go grab, and that's just what's gonna happen. Because right now you're gonna hold on 1 second. All right, darling, let's come down here. So this is not what the live is about. I have one of those ring lights for when I go live, and I look over and she's climbing through the ring, like, you know, in the circus when like the lion jumps through the hoop. She's trying to do that. So we got to make sure we don't have a cat get stuck in the light. All right, so going back to connections to clients. So for all of you, first and foremost, because we are on the last first day, thank you for everyone who's joined. Thank you for everyone who's been hanging out. I've really had a lot of fun digging into this content with y'all. It's, again, just as a recap for everyone, what I really wanted to make sure, especially before the holidays, is that we went over some ideas, some strategies that were really simple, that didn't require a ton of time or a ton of technical knowledge to implement, because I find so often with my clients who come to me, and I think just on the online space as we're building businesses online, that there is this story, this belief that strategy has to be really complicated, and that to create results in our business, we have to work, and find the most complicated strategy, and the more complicated it is, the better it's going to be. The more complicated it is, the better results we're going to get. And that's not true at all. I talk about this a lot, but I have a few clients who are doing incredibly well, and I have quite a few friends and peers who are doing incredibly well in the online space. And when we look at their business models, they're not reinventing the wheel. They're not doing anything more complicated. In fact, they're usually doing less better, or they have a team to implement more. It's just that they've really honed what they're doing. They really know their message. They really know their offer. They've gotten really good at that sales process, and they're working their mindset like crazy. They're essentially my coaching framework. They've got their clarity down, their mindset down, their strategy, and their action plan down, but they're not doing anything super complicated. There's not some secret out there that everyone else doesn't know, but they do know. And so this challenge, I really wanted to dig into some strategies that were super simple, so that everyone here can take them and apply them and get some results quickly, and start to see that it doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be complicated. I also wanted to share strategies with all of you that as we go into the holiday season, that you can still implement, or ways that you can still show up, and so that you can see that there's always different ways we can, without having to overwork, show up in our business and show up for our business. Hey, I don't know who just joined live, but say hello. So that's just that preface of what we've been talking about the last 4 days, and really just I'm reiterating that, but I really want to drive that home, because if you take nothing else from that challenge, hey Andrew, nice to see you. This isn't a challenge, but if you take nothing else from this training, I really want you to remember that business strategy does not have to be complicated. And in fact, usually the more complicated it is, the less it's going to work. So good morning from California. Good morning from New York. Oh my goodness, you are an early bird. What is it, 6:10 a.m. for you? Good morning. Thank you for hanging out. So we are going to dig back into day 1. So this is a little funny because my brain tends to be linear. So going backwards, I I realize for some of you this is going to be a repeat, so you don't have to watch the repeat, but I know there were enough of you who commented on that thread that you missed day one. So what we talked about in day one, first we talked about the power of connection. So the whole point of this training, connections to clients. I have this belief in business that really, if you boil business down at the core of business success, if you look at businesses that are sustainable, that are profitable, that are successful, they prioritize connection and relationships. I always say connection is at the core of a successful, sustainable, profitable business. And this isn't just me. If you actually look at other businesses, that's what they're prioritizing. And if you look at a lot of strategies, what are strategies really asking us to do? If we look at what marketing strategies are, sales strategies, if you boil them down, they're really based in connection. So every strategy I use in my business and I use with my clients, it's really based on this relationship model and based on human psychology, the way we think, the way we behave. And if we talk about just pulling it out, a bigger version, my cat is going crazy, you guys, a bigger view of our business, and we look at, say, for example, the sales process, connection is a big part of the sales process. I know I've been saying this the last few days, but I think a lot of us think sales is just that transaction. I sell something, you buy something, and that's what sales are. But really, it's a protracted process that has a beginning, a middle, not really an end. Hopefully you're continuing, and then it's a loop. I should say it's a loop where we're continuing this cycle, because hopefully we're working with people over and over again. And so connection is a really big part. I always think visibility comes first, and then you have connection, and then it's building and nurturing that connection. And the reason for this isn't just because I think it's fun, or connection's one of my personal and business values. It's not just because of that. It's because as humans, we are wired to connect. So our need for connection, it's up there with food and water. That's how important it is to us as humans. It is a fundamental need. And having connection is linked to more happiness and health. So if we think about this, that's a human drive. And if we think about why we buy and purchase things, we buy and purchase things because of our human drives. Most of us are in our rational, conscious mind a fraction of the day, and everything else is based on that subconscious, and we're driven by our needs and wants and desires, and it's usually from this very subconscious, often primal part of us, meaning connection is driving us. It's driving us in our day-to-day life. It's driving us in our buying powers, which is why it's so important in business. Let me know. I think it's just Andrew here right now, but let me know if that's making sense as I get a little fired up about topics sometimes, and I want to make sure that this is all connecting. What I think for all of us, and why one of the reasons I wanted to share this training, is I think in the online space, particularly for those of us who are using online marketing for our business, and hey, that is where the majority of my business comes from. We're talking here on social media. I love online marketing, but I find that in some cases and in some schools of thought, it's, especially in this entrepreneurial dream life that's been painted, the connection piece has been removed. Bots are really popular right now. There's nothing wrong with bots. I mean, those are things people can use to help start that connection process. But so much of what I see in the online space is, how can I automate? How can I find someone else to do this for me? How can I hire this out? How can I do this in as little time as possible? And I'm not for working hard, but what my point is here is we are being trained to farm out the connection piece. And it's that connection piece that's going to move our business forward. And so I think the businesses that are doing well, even the giant businesses that are using bots and using automation, I use automation in my business all the time, they're using those very strategically and using them to mimic human connection so they can still build those connections with people. And I think for the smaller businesses starting out, and if you look at the entrepreneurs starting out who are doing really well, they're looking to see what the big businesses can't do in terms of connection so that they can build that human connection to move their business forward, because they know it is that connection piece, it's that relationship piece that's going to drive their business forward. We were talking about this the last few days. There's Harvard Business Review talks about this, and they talk about how over the lifetime of our business, emotionally connected customers are worth twice as much, they're twice as valuable as satisfied customers. And the reason I'm sharing this over other stats or studies is I find this fascinating because we're talking about twice as valuable in terms of emotional connection compared to satisfied customers who are already satisfied. So we're not basing this comparison on emotionally connected customers to people who don't want your product or who aren't satisfied. We're comparing against already satisfied customers. So what this is saying is, if you already have satisfied customers and you create an emotional connection over the lifetime of your work together or their buying journey or their customer journey, they have a value of twice as much. That's huge. That's massive. That is a way to double your revenue through connection. And I find that fascinating. I think for all of us in this space if you guys are connecting with me, most of you are, I think all of you probably are heart-centered, passion-driven. I mean, we're already wired to connect, but if you're that creative type, if you're that heart-centered type, if you're that passion-driven type, connection comes more, it's something we're driven to. We build connection well. All right, let me just see. Andrew says, love it. Thank you for doing this again. You rock. Oh, thank you. I'm so happy. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. My hair's doing weird morning things. Thank you for being here with me again. I love this. So it's a nice way for me to start out the day. Honestly, if you guys were going to get bored with me, I'd probably hop on live like all the freaking time. So I'm so happy to do this. What was I going to say about, the Harvard Business Review. That's what I wanted to talk about. So the other thing within this Harvard Business Review, this article that I was reading as I was pulling together some facts for you all that I thought was fascinating, is it went on to say that the customers who are emotionally connected, they tend to be more loyal. They tend to buy more of that company's products or services, and they tend to have less price sensitivity. And I think that's really key for all of us to hear. And they made the joke that it's pretty hard to quit a business when there's friendship involved, but that's true. And this connects to another study that I talk about. I think I talk about this with you guys a lot, but it's been shown that when we have two products, this is going back to connection. So if we have product A and product B, and let's say product A is actually a little bit better than product B, but we have a connection, a relationship with the person selling product B. Or let's say we have an emotional connection to the brand. Really smart brands in their advertising and marketing are building emotional connections with us through their advertising and storytelling and their platform, if you start paying attention. But let's say, going off on a tangent here, let's say product B isn't even quite as good as product A, but we know, like, trust, have that emotional connection to product B. We are more likely to buy product B, even if it's not quite as good as product A, because we have that emotional connection. So I know everyone here has integrity with their work and they want to bring the best they can to their work. However, this is saying that even if your work isn't as good as someone else, I mean, if you have better work, it's saying that you're really going to rise above. But what the point here more is, if you have better work, but you're not building that connection, someone with less superior work might actually get your business. I think that's the better way to phrase that. So I find all of this fascinating because I found this to be true over the course, you guys can hear me over the sirens, over the course of my life, whether it's been from when I was acting, when I had this gap year trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I worked in marketing and sales, and then in my business, connection has been at the core of all of the successes I've had and the successes I haven't had. So when I think about maybe some of the opportunities that I miss, it's probably, when I think back about acting, some of the acting roles I booked, I can trace them back to the connections I made that gave me the opportunity for the audition. So the movie I shot in South Africa, yes, I had to show up, audition. Yes, I had to bring in, I think I did a damn good job. But before that was possible, I was building a connection and relationship with the producer and the casting director who called me in. So you have to believe, you have to think that that helped me book the role. And I think we think of, I mean, this is basically nepotism. I think we think this is a bad thing, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a beautiful thing. We like to work with people we know, like, and trust. It's just that simple. When I moved to New York and I started my career over and I had that gap year where I was trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grow up, I joke because it was before I knew about coaching, and I knew 5 people in New York City, and that included my aunt and uncles. I knew no one here basically. And I wanted to get a job in advertising representing directors commercially, essentially a marketing and sales job, working and pitching directors. And that job is based on your network, your relationships, and your experience. I had none of those, zero, none. The way I got that job was I first went out and had 40 coffee meetings. So I pooled my current network and I did a bunch of cold emails and I built up a network of people in the industry that I didn't know. And I joke that I stalked them, but I basically built up connections with them until they were willing to have coffee meetings with me. The woman who eventually hired me, who is one of the dearest people in my life, we have a great relationship. I adore her. She's phenomenal. But the way I ended up working for her is this goes back to what we were talking about in the email connection yesterday. I sent a cold email to her. I didn't even know she was hiring. I essentially stalked her. I used these other connections to help put in some good words for me and help me even know that she existed and that this was a possible opportunity happening. I continued to follow up with her, and then I built a relationship with her. I met her for coffee. I showed up at an event, and then within a month, I had a job. Was this the quickest way to get a job? Yes and no. I think you hear that and you're like, well, that took 40 coffee meetings and all of this time to nurture that relationship, except for when you look at a lot of people who have no experience, no connections, no real business with a job, trying to get a job in New York City. I don't know if you guys know this, but we're at no lack of competition here. I know people, it takes them 6 months, a year, 2 years to find a job. So I, in many ways, think connection is the quickest route to those results if we're showing up and creating those results. I also think that, and then we're going to talk about social media and how to build connection, but I really want to have this land for everyone who's watching later on the replay as well. I really think, we talk about in business creating that blue ocean, and that's basically that idea of differentiating. So a red bloody ocean is everyone's fighting against each other for the same, competing against each other for business. And then if you create a blue ocean, you don't have any competition basically because you are a unique snowflake. I think that building true connection and relationships from a genuine, authentic place, not from this manipulative place of I'm just trying to build connections to get what I want, but from this authentic, genuine place, I think that is a way to create a blue ocean because not a lot of people are doing it. Let's be honest, not a lot of people are doing it, and not a lot of people are doing it from the place of authenticity, from being genuine, and not a lot of people are doing it consistently. I think that's a way to differentiate without having to make your product or service so incredibly different. So hopefully that makes sense. I talk about differentiation a lot from this perspective because I find sometimes my clients, we feel like we have to do things to be like quirky or like make up things to be different. And I think we can be sometimes inherently different in the way we show up and serve and build connections and in the quality of our products and services. You guys, that's I think surprisingly rare. I find that the longer I'm in this space, and I found this when I was acting, I think that integrity and quality is shockingly rare. So if you have that and then you're also building connection and you're also working your mindset and you have a simple strategy, it's magical. Like you kind of can't not get results. Trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to say here just before we jump into the piece of social media. I want to talk about the blue ocean piece. Oh, I wanted to talk just about this idea that if you think about your business or your work, and if you peel back the layers and move some steps back to what's worked for you and not what's worked for you, or what's gotten you results, I would implore you to see where that connection has played a part. Because I think sometimes we think it hasn't, because maybe it'll be something like, I sent a cold email and I got that result. But what you did with a cold email is you reached out and you built a connection. You probably did something in that email you probably had to follow up a bunch of times. And over that time, you're building a connection, a relationship with someone you didn't have before. So, and I think if we I was using one of my girlfriends as an example, because I think sometimes it's nice to see things outside of our space. I have a girlfriend, we talked about her yesterday as well. People are always thinking she's so lucky, that she's just so lucky because she always gets opportunities. She always gets job offers. But if you take a look at what she does, first of all, she's damn good at what she does. She's a copywriter and a writer. She's really good at what she does. She has honed her skill and her craft, and she is working connections and relationships like it's her business from a genuine, authentic place. So these are real friendships, real connections, but she makes that a priority. And so if you really pay attention to what she's doing, she's created this beautiful network of people that know, like, and trust her. So when opportunities pop up, of course they think of her. Of course they want to help her. And really that's the power of connection. All right, I got so many examples for you guys, but I think we get it. I think I don't need to hit you guys over the head with this. So let's talk about building better connections on social media. What I wanted to do, so we talked about building better connections offline yesterday. On the second day, we talked about building better connections through email. The first day, and now the last day, I want to talk about building better connections on social media. And I particularly want to talk about building those connections without content. Um, I love content. I think if you add content to what we're talking about, it is rocket fuel. I think content is incredibly powerful in our business, and it's a strategy I employ and that I usually coach my clients to also employ, but we can get results without content, and I want you to see how that's possible. And I will tell you, I have a client right now who is booking the majority of her clients from social media using exactly what we're talking about today. And I don't think she's using many other, if any other strategies. She's not, she shares some content on her Instagram profile, I think, but it's not like this massive content heavy strategy. The clients are coming from what we're going to talk about today. I will also share for all of you, because I think we tend to think when social media comes into play that it's all about those big numbers. I know you guys have heard me preach about this before, but what we're talking about here is building deeper connections, not just wider connections. Yes, it always helps when we have the larger audience that can help, but you can get results with smaller audiences. And what I shared when we did this the first time around is I booked my first two clients, my first two paying clients from social media. The first client I booked was from a Facebook group. The second client I booked was from Instagram. And what I want everyone here to know is my Instagram following probably had 240 people. And I didn't have a Facebook group because I didn't start my Facebook group until a year and a half or 2 years into my business, because I didn't have the bandwidth to do it. I really believe in building one thing out first before we add something else in. My email list, this was the first month of business for me, and I don't remember exactly, but I doubt it even had 40 people on it. I bet we're talking like 38 people or something on my email, on my mailing list, and I wasn't posting content on Facebook. And so I share all of that ahead of time to say, those were my numbers, and what I was doing was blogging once a week. I wasn't going live. I was blogging every week, and I was sharing content on Instagram. So, full disclosure. But that's it. I wasn't doing anything else. I didn't have big numbers. And yet, my first two paying clients came from what we're going to talk about today. And I know because I like to trace back where clients come from. So today we're talking about making better connections with people and really thinking about that narrowing in versus feeling like we just need to grab people and have this bigger audience. The fascinating thing is when you focus this way, your audience will grow. It will, because you'll be focusing on connection first. The other thing I want to preface before we dig into this a little bit more is this is really simple. And I think sometimes when we hear simple things, we think it's too simple and we don't want to do it. So I would open your minds, if you're watching now later on the replay, to think, okay, this is simple, but am I actually doing this? And if not, how can I implement this? Simple doesn't mean not result. I'll also share, I know people who are making 10K a month plus using similar strategies. Yes, they're adding on a few other things, for full disclosure, but they're not reinventing the wheel, and they have those smaller audiences. And that's the point I want to make there. The other thing I want to say, and this is really, really, really important with this and all the other days, is what we're talking about here, this only works if we come at it from a place of wanting to build real connection, of coming at it at a place, this is what I was saying earlier, being authentic, genuine, not coming at it from a place of being manipulative, and not coming at it from a place of just client hunting, customer hunting, and looking at people with dollar signs over their heads or their Instagram profile or their Facebook profile. Not only does that not, it doesn't work, and people feel it on the other side, whether you believe in energy or not, whether you believe in the universe or not, we can feel what people's intentions are through the way they connect with us. Who, I'm pretty sure everyone has been on the receiving end of a message or an email where the only intention is to have you buy something from them when there's been no prior relationship built. It feels icky. I'm sure most of you have also been on the receiving end of something that someone's trying to pretend to want to be your friend, but really they just want you to buy from them, it feels icky. I definitely have been on the receiving end of that. People feel it. So it not only is it kind of gross and out of integrity, it doesn't work. So my invitation for everyone, this doesn't mean we're not selling. You guys know I absolutely want everyone to sell and to sell proudly, but it means that we're coming at it from a place of building relationship first. And what I would offer everyone is what we're talking about here is doing this without expecting anything in return. So we can want something in return. We absolutely have the end goal that we want clients. We want to make more money. We want to build our business. We want to sell more product. Whatever that end goal is, absolutely. And then we have to detach really with everything, but particularly with relationship building, and allow the relationships to be what they're going to be and not have an end goal in mind, or not come at them with, I'm doing this, I'm going to talk to this person just so they can become a client. It really and truly changes the entire process, and naturally then you will magnetize people towards you and it will be a lot easier. I promise you. I see this personally and I see this with my clients. Okay. I like to give so much backstory sometimes. We're a half an hour in. So hopefully you guys like the backstory. So what we talked about when we did this the first time around is basically when you're building an audience and building relationships, there's two ways to go about it. You can go to people or people can come to you. So you can take a passive approach or an active approach. What I see with a lot of people is we take the passive approach, and that is, I'm going to post my blog, I'm going to post my Instagram, I'm going to post my content, and then I'm just going to see if anyone comes to me. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. I also use that approach. What we're talking about today is taking a more active approach. We're going to go to people. We are going to go to people to build connections, because this is how we build new connections. This is how we meet new people. This can also be a little scarier. It's less scary for me than it is for anyone else. So I absolutely hear that. Other thing I see a lot on social media in particular is that a lot of people are taking the approach, let's say Facebook groups, and they're just like vomiting their content everywhere, and then they're leaving and they're bouncing. And content is, if we're creating content to build connections, to build our business and platform so we can eventually get sales, that's not relationship building. That's just dumping a bunch of crap on people and not being there to build a relationship. What we're going to talk about today is having this become a conversation with people, taking some of that active approach. So we're building relationships with people. And then if you add that content on top of it, it becomes rocket fuel instead of vomit. It's a very gross analogy, but I think you guys know what I meant. And I posted, I think on Instagram yesterday, I was posting, and we talked about this in day one. If we want something in life, we have to be willing to give what we want to get first. So, and then I'll talk about, because the strategy is pretty simple, but I think we need to have this mindset piece around it first. If I want love in life, I need to be willing to give love first. Yes, to myself, but also to someone else. If I want a friend, I need to be willing to be a friend first. If I want someone to invest in my business at a higher level, I need to be willing to invest myself at a higher level. If I want engagement on social media, I need to be willing to engage first with other people. It really is that simple. And so this is probably the simplest strategy there is, and it got me my first 2 clients, so it works. And this is finding people who are like-minded and engaging with them. So I'm going to give you some strategy around it so that you can make it easier and actually have it work. But it's really that simple. It's finding other people and engaging with them first, building that connection and relationship with them first on social media, instead of waiting for people to always come to you. And this is how we start to build up connections on social media that then come back to us. In fact, I guarantee that some of you in this Facebook group who are watching me are here because we connected first somewhere else. I probably engaged with you and built up somewhat of a relationship with you first, because we want to be connected to other people and we don't always want to do the work ourselves, especially in business. I'm talking about the people who are coming to us. So this looks like, I'll break it down for Instagram and Facebook. Actually, in your playbook, you guys have a playbook for day one. I almost forgot that. what we're talking about in the playbook is it's giving you some prompts so that we can break this down, because I think that sounds really simple, and it is, but then we're like, wait, how do I do this? And so I want to make it so simple so you know exactly what to do, and also so you know where to connect with people. What I like to think about with everything, first and foremost, is how do I like to connect with people offline, off of social media? What's my connection style? What do I like to talk about? So I'm a one-on-one person. I do better one-on-one than I do in groups, and I like to encourage and motivate people. I like to think about the certain topics that I really love talking about. So I like to think about the topics in my business that are my zone of genius, as well as those personal topics that I get really excited about, because then when I go on social media and I want to engage with people, I know this is what I'm looking for in other people if I want to connect with them. I also know this is what I can bring to the table, because when we're building connections with people, it's not just about business. We don't just want to, I think there's so much talk about giving value, giving value, giving value. And I think sometimes we think the only way to give value is to give people a whole bunch of information. And information is great, but information isn't the only way to give value, and information is everywhere. And we've talked about this before. Information also isn't transformational. There are so many ways to give value. Giving someone encouragement, asking someone a question so that they have space to think out an idea, giving someone your personal experience as it relates to what they're asking, sharing a vulnerable piece of your life as it relates to something they're sharing. These are all incredible ways to build value that have nothing to do with talking about let's say you're a web designer, talking about the web design code and giving someone that information. You see where the difference is? In fact, connecting with someone and talking to them about their kids on social media and building up a relationship that way is probably going to help you if you're a web designer more than talking to them about the coding, because that's why they're hiring you. They don't want to know that. And I think we miss that. Andrew says, love the backstory. Amazing to hear the journey you've taken. Very inspiring. Thank you. I don't know why Facebook like hides the comments. So I don't know if you posted that just now or a while ago, but thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. I think everyone, if we hear their stories, oh, and I see Gemma. I think everyone, if we hear their stories, is usually pretty impressive. Because I don't feel that way about mine at all, but thank you for saying that. So just as a reflection back to you, I'm sure yours is equally so. I think a lot of times we don't take a look at what that story or journey is, because we don't need to. I need to more often because I'm sharing it in this context and perspective. So my guess is that your journey and story is equally impressive. And don't kid yourself, there was a whole lot of crying on the subway along with those 40 coffee meetings. It wasn't like it was super, super easy. So just to normalize that and paint a picture. Okay, so what were we talking about? We were talking about, building up these relationships. So, and not just feeling that value can only be from giving information. So what I used to do when I first tried to do this is I thought obviously it changed quickly because it did work for me pretty quickly, but I thought I could only talk to people who were asking me a question about the work I did very specifically and comment on their post that way, and that was the only way to provide value. And I want to expand your mind on that and realize that value comes in so many ways, and we're talking about building connection. So a million ways to build a connection. I like to, and this is in your playbook, I like to, again, really get clear on those different topics that speak to me, because that means I'm naturally going to connect with someone else. That jogs my memory. It gives me sort of this template. I don't think about it now. I know these things now, but if you take the time to write this out, you'll have that framework when you're looking online. I'll see things that jump out to me, and I naturally know they connect with me, and it'll be easier for me to connect with another person. Because if we think about offline connecting with someone, if I'm at the coffee shop, we were talking about this with Jennifer in day one, she was with us live. If we're at a coffee shop and I see someone come in with running clothes and they're sweating, they're coming from the gym, I might naturally comment on their running shoes, or I might naturally ask them what's their running loop, or do they work out at the gym around the corner, or is there a new gym if there isn't a gym I know of, because I'm already interested in that. And I know we're going to naturally have something to talk about. We have something in common because I'm a runner. So I think you get what I mean here. So I think it's really helpful for us to sort of brain dump what these things are for us, because then it makes us a lot easier when we're connecting online. We don't get into that decision fatigue space where we're overthinking things, or we just don't do it because we don't see anyone that we can connect with. In terms of where to connect with people and how, I'm going to share that a bit. I'm just seeing if there's any other comments hiding. I don't think so. In terms of where to connect with people and how to find them. So again, I think there's a few ways to do this. The first thing, we talked about this in day one, the first thing I would invite everyone to do is to leverage your own community and audience. So whether you have 100 people or 40 people or 10,000 people, leverage the people in front of you first. And leverage sounds manipulative, so I don't even mean it that way, but connect with those people and make deeper connections with them first. I think we are so often trying to look outside ourselves when we forget that we often have people right in front of us. Most of us probably have more opportunity in front of us than we realize if we strengthen those connections. So for example, and just to break this down, like what we're actually doing here, I'm talking about going into your Instagram profile and going into the people who are already following you. And instead of waiting for them to comment on your post and to engage with them that way, go to their profile, find some people who you can see in their bio. Now you know a few things that jump out at you. So if I see coffee and running, I know this person's probably going to be my people. Find a post or two and engage with them. Leave them a comment. Say something thoughtful to them. Boom. Suddenly you've made a deeper connection with someone through social media who already knows you to some degree. And you can do this for different people in your Instagram profile. Facebook is the same way. Facebook is a little different. I think we can't go into their profile the same way. But if you're in a group, and I have a Facebook group, if people are commenting, putting comments in there outside of my post, you better believe I want to comment and engage with them. I want to reach out to them and build that connection just as much as they're essentially reaching out to me by sharing their beautiful content. So that's how we can do this within our own communities. Then to create new connections in a way that isn't passive and is more active, we can start to utilize other people's audiences. And I think this is such a smart strategy for everyone. This is essentially what Facebook ads does. So we're doing this manually. This is what Facebook ads, if you're running ads, you are utilizing other people's audiences. So in the playbook, I gave you space to think about, where are your people hanging out on Instagram or on Facebook? Oh, we didn't talk about this today. Pick one platform to do this. Don't do it on everywhere. I'm talking about Instagram, Facebook. I know there's other platforms, but pick one platform and go all in there to build your connections. Don't spread yourself thin. We're going narrow, not deep here. So we're going narrow and deep. We're not going wide. My brain's still kicking in today. So pick one platform to do all of this on. I really think with everything in business, y'all, like, do one thing well. And then when that's like working, add something else. But that's another tangent. So think about where your people are hanging out. So if you know some characteristics about who your clients are, your dream clients, your ideal clients, whatever you want to call them, on Instagram, think about, who are they following? What people might they follow on Instagram? And on Instagram, then what you can do is, and this is, again, I'm sure you guys have heard this, it's pretty simple. You're going to go into, let's say it's Danielle Laporte. Just the first name that came to mind because I was using her planner this morning. You can go into Danielle Laporte's Instagram profile and into her followers, and you can look at some people, again, look at some things will jump out to you, click on some people's profile and connect with a few of their posts. And again, we're trying to do this in an authentic way. We're not just hunting for clients, we're building connections. So read their post and leave them a comment or answer their question. That's how we're utilizing other people's audiences on Instagram. On Facebook, we have these beautiful groups and communities. I know a lot of you are members of like 45 groups that you're already in. Think about, where are your people hanging out? And I will say, when I say your people, I'm talking about your clients, but let's not discount how valuable peer relationships are as well, and how valuable peer connection is. A lot of the awesome opportunities I get in my life are not because I'm doing anything special. It's because I have some amazing peer connections and they give me opportunities. Like, I wish I was a cool shiny unicorn, but I think I'm just lucky. And I mean, I've made my own luck in that I've made the connections, but lucky in that sometimes I just get given opportunities because I've built these relationships. So when we're connecting, we want to think about our people in terms of clients, customers, but as well as those peers. Don't discount those peers. So in Facebook groups, we're thinking of where are our people? It can be either one of those. Where are they hanging out on in Facebook groups? And again, we're just engaging with people's posts. So that can be answering a question. That can be giving someone some love for something they share. That can be sharing a vulnerable story. That can be offering a tip or advice, and we're giving freely. So I think sometimes when we are giving advice or information in terms of our business, I think sometimes we feel like we have to hoard the good stuff. Give your information freely, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to build a connection and a relationship. What's beautiful about Facebook and Instagram is we're doing this actively, but it also becomes a passive way to build connection because there are so many more eyes on what you're sharing. So if, let's say I post a post in my Facebook group and a few of you comment underneath it, you're building a connection with me, or we're connecting, and you see this because some of you have connected with one another now through those posts. You're building passively, you're creating visibility and building a connection with other people because they're seeing your comment, and if it resonates, they're commenting back to you. And I've seen this. I don't even have a very big Facebook group, you guys, and I've seen this. In fact, I know 2 of you have become friends outside of the Facebook group. So just to show how that works. So again, really simple. We're giving some love, and what I like to do is, and so this is something else we want to think about. We want to think about setting up some consistency around this, because relationships are built over time. I like to think about it as, I don't know who talks about this. I think it's probably some relationship coach, but they talk about the relationship bank. And every time you connect with someone, you think about your partner that you're in a romantic relationship with or a friendship, you have a relationship bank. Every time you spend time with them, every time you talk with them, every time you help them out, you put some coin into that relationship bank, and it makes it a richer relationship. It also means that if something happens, or you get into a fight, or if, I don't know, you flake and you're late for something, if you have more money in your relationship bank, you just are taking a little out, there's still plenty there. But if you have a really broke ass relationship bank, it's going to sever that connection. Does that make sense? I'm probably butchering whoever came up with that concept. I'm probably butchering it, but the same thing is happening on social media. If we're consistently showing up and building connections and relationships with people, we're building up that relationship bank. We are putting those coins in. So then if we have a vacation, or we're busy and we're not in a group for a few days, it's fine because we have some collateral in our relationship bank. If we are just sort of like doing this once to see if it works, and then maybe again in a month, and then maybe again in a month, all we're doing is like putting some money in the bank and it's getting spent, putting some money in that relationship bank and it's getting spent because we're not there. So we want to think about this and think about how we can do this consistently, so we're consistently building connections and relationships online. Hopefully that makes sense. So this is the same for posting our content, but it's also for this relationship building. I like to just set a timer because it's really easy to get stuck into the wormhole of what social media is. So I like to set a timer on this, and I have, however often I do it, I have my consistency schedule. But I would invite everyone to think about, what is consistency going to look like for you? It doesn't have to be the same for everyone. Well, what is that consistency for you? And then, and this is in your playbook, I asked you to identify 3 to 5 of those audiences you want to leverage. The reason I say 3 to 5 and not 25 is I would really invite you, if you're going to try out this strategy, to focus on no more than 3 to 5 audiences. Because again, that relationship bank idea, analogy, it's really hard to put coin into your online social media relationship bank in 25 places consistently. You're just going to spread yourself thin. You're just going to put a quarter everywhere, and then it's going to get spent. Versus, honestly, pick 3 places and just show up consistently there and see what happens. You'll build up 3 really strong relationship banks. Does that make sense? Does my strange analogy there make sense? So 3 to 5 audiences. And again, we're looking for those people that we can connect with. So don't feel like you have to connect with everyone. Connect and engage with. That's why we're getting clear on what we like to talk about, what we like to talk with people about, and how we like to talk with people. So if you're more intimate, maybe you want to engage with the person who only has a few comments, and maybe you don't want to engage with the person who has 35 comments. If you like more of a group conversation, maybe you do want to hop into that conversation, and maybe you want to engage with some of the people who are in that actual thread. So I think you get what I mean, but we're all different in how we naturally feel best communicating offline. I like to think and do everything in my power to do the same thing online. It's going to be more real when I connect with people, and they won't feel weird if they ever connect with me later for work or for collaboration, but it's also going to feel better for me. And if we feel better with what we're doing, we're going to show up and do it more regularly, and we're going to get better results. Okay, trying to think here what I wanted to add here. Okay, and then I think we want to think about how do we take this to the next level? So this is connections to clients. So how on social media does this become more? I think we want to think about relationship building first, and know that a lot of people are naturally, if you build a relationship, what happens in conversation, you want to know what someone does, how they can help you. But we can also think about how are we going to elevate this relationship. So relationships offline, there's a natural progression. When you meet someone, let's say you're dating. Most people don't meet someone for the first time and get married the next day. I know it happens, and every once in a while it even works. But most of the time we meet someone, we date them, and then if they're the right person, we get married. Even if they're not the right person, sometimes we get married. But that is the way this relationship goes. And then, hey, this is important to know. This is horrible. I don't mean that marriage is like a sale, but if it were, it doesn't stop when you get married. It continues. The relationship continues afterwards. And so, thinking about a sales process, it continues after you made the sale. But there is that nurture period. That is that progression. And so, I think where this strategy that we're talking about here falls flat a lot online is people are jumping from meeting to proposing and trying to get married within one connection. So, and I know you guys have all gotten this. You'll either never have met someone, or you'll have left one comment for someone and they leave you this spammy message in your inbox, in your DM. Or someone finds you on Instagram and they send you this spammy email. I'm all for cold email. I'm also for cold DMs. I've connected with people and booked clients that way. So I'm not even saying that you can't send a cold DM. What I'm saying is think about the progression of a relationship and naturally feel into it. It's going to be different with every person. Naturally know when it's time to bring the relationship to the next level for your business. So does that mean you've connected a few times in a group and then you can send them a DM? Does that mean you've connected, but you had an intimate, more authentic connection, so you can send them a DM and invite them to your Facebook group or onto a free call, or to maybe you have something for free you want to give them? Does it mean that maybe you come across someone's profile, you've never even connected, but they so speak to you and you want to connect and help them? Maybe you send them a message, but it's really painting that picture. So you're painting that picture and you're creating a very easy next level invitation that makes sense for them, versus just dumping things mindlessly without any connection or without any thought, and just inviting people to a next level invitation that makes no sense. That's when things start to feel slimy and sleazy. Does that make sense in terms of what the difference is? Andrew, I don't know if you're even able to text, but I'd love to know if that makes, you might be driving or something, but if that makes sense in terms of the difference. But that's how these relationships progress online. And you guys have all seen it. Some of you, again, are in this Facebook group because the relationships progressed and you found me and then you wanted to join the group. I have clients where we've connected that way, the relationships progress, and then we've set up, we talked about this yesterday, we set up a connection call, or I'd offer them a free coaching call to bring that relationship to the next level. There's all sorts of ways we can bring this to the next level. I think what we want to think about here is building connection and relationship first, and earning the right to build the relationship to the next level. So someone earns the right to bring a relationship outside of this. If you meet a good friend, and I used this in my group coaching program before. If you met a good friend, or if you met a friend for coffee, so we want to talk relationship, and let's say you were having a wedding, a destination wedding in Bali. I was talking about this in my groups. I was going to a lot of weddings at the time. So let's say you make a new friend, you have a destination wedding in a week, you're getting married in Bali, and you've made this new connection, you guys go to coffee. You wouldn't, after one coffee meeting, say to this new person, I'm getting married in Bali. Do you want to come to, will you buy a plane ticket and fly to Bali to celebrate me and my soon-to-be husband or wife? It's next week. That would be so weird, unless you guys had this like all day weirdly like epic friendship that like bloomed overnight. That would be such a big ask of someone, and probably really off-putting, and probably crossing a few boundaries. So we wouldn't do that offline. And then of course there's always an exception to every rule. So why are we doing it online? So that's just all if you're never sure online, all you have to think about is, how would I behave offline? How would I behave with my friends offline? How would I behave if I was meeting someone new offline? If I was at a networking event, if I was at a coffee shop, if I was at work, how would I behave? If you answer that for yourself, you will get the answer online. Online is just a way we are connecting. It just gives us the opportunity to connect with more people globally. But it's just a tool. At the end of the day, the people on the other side are real humans, so we're not going to connect in any different way. It's not like because suddenly there's technology between us, there's a new way for us to connect. Does that make sense? Okay. I will try to get off my soapbox here. So really and truly, it is that simple. That is, I think, the best way that you can leverage your own community and leverage other people's communities to build new and better, deeper connections with people, and then have them turn into clients. Because as you build better connections, I think that's a big part of the sales process. Connections get nurtured, and then that's when we're able to make an offer, and then that's when we can sell something, and then that's when we can, follow up and have that after sales process nurturing phase and building the relationship deeper. So really and truly, I think social media can be a beautiful, beautiful way to connect. And I think it can be a way that we can stand out online if we're willing to connect with people in a way that I think a lot of people just aren't willing to do. It's so much easier. I mean, first of all, let's be real. It's scary to post content on social media, I think, for everyone at the start. And it's not easy to create content consistently. So anyone who's doing that, I give you so many high fives and thumbs up. But in some ways, it's easier to take that passive approach versus taking the time to really connect with other people. And again, if you combine both of those together, that's magic. That is, I think it's just so much magic, and it can really be that easy. I'm just checking my notes to make sure. It's funny how you think doing this the second time would be easier, but I think because I've done this, there's certain things I said the first time, I remember saying them, so I think I've already covered them, and then I realize I've like left out chunks. Does that make sense? So when you tell someone one story and then you tell someone else later, you leave out big chunks because you've just said it. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anything I wanted to cover, because I always have little bullet points here. I think that's the crux of it. I think, just to summarize the whole idea here, so just to summarize day 1 on day 4, connections are at the core of a successful, sustainable, profitable business. If you focus on building connection through social media, through email, offline, if you want to add in some content marketing strategy, if you want to add in a different connection strategy, public speaking, networking, I mean, all of these things, if we think about them, they're all connection based. If you focus on connection in your business, you will win. I mean, there is no secret, and I mean, there's obviously, we have to have a few other things in place, but truly, 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 at the core of successful, sustainable, profitable businesses is connection. So focus on connection first, and then just to summarize with the social media platforms, we're picking 3 to 5 audiences outside of our own. With our own, we're going to try to strengthen those connections we already have, and then we're going to find a consistency schedule, a way we can consistently show up with those other audiences so we can leverage those other audiences, and we're going to engage with other people, because we know if we want other people to engage and connect with us, we have to go out and engage with them first. We're going to take an active role instead of a passive role. We're going to go to them instead of waiting just for people to come to us. And we're going to share value. We're going to go into our playbook, and we're going to get clear on what do we love to talk about in our business, what's our zone of genius, what can we help people with, as well as what topics do we love to talk about, what naturally lights us up? What will we talk about with our friends? What are great pieces of conversation for us? What are some of those things, you know, is it your kids? Is it your dog? For me, it might be my cat, and running and spinning, etc. So that we can then go into no more than 3 to 5. Start with 3, start with 1 other audiences, and start engaging with and sharing value in the form of conversation, in the form of motivation, in the form of encouragement, in the form of asking questions, in the form of sharing some of that information that's helpful, in the form of sharing our own personal story to empathize, so that we can build those connections. It's that simple. And then we are going to offer up that next level of the relationship when the time is right. So we're going to be the humans that we all are. We're not going to pull back and be scared because we've talked about this and we don't want to make that proposal too quickly. Don't use that as an excuse not to make that invitation for the next level of the relationship. We're going to invite people for that next level of the relationship when the time is right, in whatever way that is. If it's someone who's a peer, it might be to hop on the phone and have a connection call like we talked about yesterday. Remember, not like these are all different forms of relationships. So that's how it turns into 2 clients. And again, we're going to give what we want to get. So if there are people we've connected with on a call as a peer, maybe we want to give them a referral because we really believe in their work, knowing that what we put out, we get back. It just, like, that's the way the world works. And I think that's probably a little universe speak, but even if you don't buy into all of that, what you put out, you're going to get back. All right, so that is day 1, take 2. I'm just seeing, oh, there are comments. You guys, I think I'm not good. I dropped my phone. I don't think I'm good at Facebook Live. I need to learn. I wish they came up automatically. Andrew, I apologize. Andrew says, after yesterday's video, I decided to put down my cell phone and talk to the next person I met in the elevator. Turns out she was a producer who worked on True Detective and The Outsider. You never know who you're going to make a connection with. I'm going to cry. That's amazing, because that's exactly what the point of yesterday's live video. So those of you who missed yesterday was about making connections offline. That's exactly the point. You never know who you're going to connect with. I just got goosebumps. And you never know how that connection is going to play out. And there is so much in front of us already. Most of us just aren't looking. So what you're talking about there, you just put down the phone to pay attention to the person next to you. It's the same with online, with the people in front of us. I think all of us, myself included, it's something we just all have to be mindful of. Thank you for sharing that. That makes me so fucking happy. And just to like celebrate that even more, just imagine if that becomes the new normal over a year, what possibilities are out there just by being open and connecting to the person next to you. I love that so much. Thank you. That just made my whole morning. That made this training worth it to hear that. So, and if any of you have any other examples like this if you've tried any of what we've talked about, anything like this has happened, it makes me so happy. Sincerely, you guys, I love this work. I love the clients I work with. I love all of you in this group. I feel so lucky to get to do this work and to get to support all of you. So nothing makes me happier. Maybe a few things make me happier, but very few things make me happier than hearing about these wins and getting to celebrate them with you. And that's so exciting. Okay, so just to close, thank you all for being here. I do have a winner for the 60-minute coaching session. I'm going to post that in the group because I know not everyone is going to possibly listen to this to the end, and otherwise y'all might never hear that. So I'll post that in the group right after this. Just wishing everyone such a beautiful holiday for those of you who are celebrating next week. For those of you who already celebrated Hanukkah, happy late holidays and happy new year. I hope all of you will take something from these 3 days, something really simple, and put it into action. And just see what happens if you put that into action for 90 days. These are all really simple things that you can do even over the holidays without having to do a lot of busy work. So keep in touch, share in the group if you're getting any of those wins. Thank you again for hanging with me. I'm wishing you all so much love for the holidays and so much success in 2019. And I'll definitely be in the group, and I've got some other fun little surprises I want to post in the group over the holidays. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. And now we're officially ending Connections to Clients day 1 on day 4. Bye, you guys. Happy holidays. And let's see.